Hi. I want you guys to take a real journey with me right now, and we're going to explore what it means to be a depraved band, musically speaking. The definition of depravity is the quality or state of being corrupt, evil, or perverted. And you could probably think of various bands from all kinds of genres that fit this mold, but I think the new Neckbreaker Records release fits it even better. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today we're going to review a band that is truly special and, like I said, is the newest release to come out of the German Neckbreaker Records. Folks, Grotesque Ceremonium out of Turkey. So yes, usually labels deal with bands that are within their sort of national range, so to speak, because that's just kind of easier to start out. But sometimes Neckbreaker can go outside the box, and this time they've acquired Grotesque Ceremonium into their legion. Now I know that music I just played sounded really exciting, but before I get into that I have to talk about the man responsible for all this madness, and this is a man called Batu Seta. I'm really sorry if I mispronounced that. I don't speak Turkish. If you guys aren't familiar with Batu, well, he pretty much kickstarted the entire Turkish death metal movement. He plays in multiple bands and has been for decades. One of the most notable, I think, is Cenotaph, which continues to be awesome. He also plays in Molested Divinity, which is one of New Standards Elite's newest bands, and they have the only goal of just pummeling you until there's nothing left. And the man even does live vocals for Decimation, and if you haven't heard of them before, I'm just gonna say this: Reign of Ungodly Creation, check it out, then come back to me. So yeah, a lot of promise before I even start talking about the music itself. So I'm going to review Grotesque Ceremonium's discography, all 3 releases, starting from back to front. That's how I checked them out. And we're going to start off with the Neckbreaker album, Sanctum of Demoniac Deviance. There is now a second member in the band, not just Batu. We have Kareem Khan doing the drums. He was only doing drums during the Grotesque Ceremonium live shows, but I guess he's a full-time member. He's also in a band called Archaic Vanity. Really cool stuff. So what you get with this album is an all-inclusive death metal experience with a suffocating tone that puts you into a claustrophobic environment filled with swirls of grinding, doomy riffs, drumming from the bowels of hell, and vocals that sound like me on a bad Monday morning. And to top all of that off, the album has a murky, cavernous quality to it that just makes me feel like there's black smoke inside of my lungs. Honestly, the whole thing is just completely depraved of anything emotionally positive. I feel like it's a sound that a lot of bands attempt but fail at. I feel like it would be really hard to create like a fast-paced, doomy death metal album without stepping into the absolute death and doom territory. No. Grotesque Ceremonium very much sticks to the Scandinavian roots of death metal. Even towards the end, there's a pretty faithful of one of Unleashed songs. Unleashed. And speaking about the tracks themselves, I feel like I shouldn't be reviewing this album song by song because it does blend into an all-comprehensive experience, but if I were to really choose the ones that hit me the hardest, Diabolical Portraits of Misery or Perished Believers in Eternal Flames of Hell. That's a mouthful. actually compare Grotesque Ceremonium a lot more to some black and death metal groups like Tremor Foul or maybe even Father Befouled. They have that same raw, abrasive sort of atmosphere, but also they grind your bones. You can also get this now on Neckbreaker Records, a German label that I am proud to be supporting to this day. They still continue to release amazing music, so if you want this on vinyl, if you want a shirt, go check them out, link in the description. But if you're still not convinced, we're going to take a look at some of the solo material when it was just Batu. The first ever full-length was titled Demonic Inquisition, and it was released in 2016 on Cenotaph Records. I personally feel like they were going for the exact same atmosphere and tone that the second album does, but this is still a project that's trying to find its own identity. What ends up happening, I think, is that it leans a little bit too heavy on the old school death metal elements, and a lot of that tremolo picking, which does carry a bulk of the weight on the whole record, gets pretty repetitive. It does sound a little bit like maybe Incantation at their worst, and yeah, there are worse Incantation albums out there. Leave me alone, elitists. But yeah, you got the same doomy riffing, crushing drums, disgusting vocals. But it's just not quite there to where the second album was. And I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I think if you enjoy this kind of style of like cavernous, depraved sort of death metal, this is still a good album. If you listen to anything on Maggot Stomp Records, you should be fine. But in terms of the project's true potential, I can see how this album led to the next, but it's still worth checking out in that context, so yeah, I think it's good. And lastly, just for shits and giggles, let's check out the debut EP. And this EP is called Wait, hold on, let me check really quick. Blasphemous Goat Observance. Oh shit. What? Anyway, this EP is amazing. I think the initial, like, primal instinct that Batu might have had to create Grotesque Ceremonium is fully exemplified on this debut EP, because this thing is just a non-stop death metal assault that kicks your ass from every angle possible. The riffing on here is aggressive and non-stop. You're always being punished with some menacing auditory torture. But then also there's that demo-like quality, since this is the debut EP. Got some clankiness going on in the drums, more of a raw tone. It really exaggerates that evilness factor. The best example of this has to be on Lucifer's Endless Sodomy. You have the second track, Abolish All Religions, which treads epically into this devastating wall of sound that crashes on you like a wave over and over again. I'm not going to go as far as to say that Grotesque Ceremonium should have just stuck with this sound forever, but I think if they combined this sort of groovy, catchy, evil-sounding death metal with the creepy, atmospheric stuff they're doing now, the third album, woo, that could be a masterpiece. Either way, Grotesque Ceremonium is a fantastic band. If you like old-school death metal with a twist on it, if you like any kind of blackened sort of death metal, this is totally up your alley. Evil-sounding shit, so I'm going to link all of their stuff down below, as well as Neckbreaker Records, and just check out Tatu's other bands and the Turkish scene in general, because these guys don't disappoint. Turkish people know what the fuck they're doing with their mouth. If you'd like to check out my social media, that will also be down below. If you'd like to see more of this kind of content and support the music that I talk about, feel free to follow all that stuff. I'm gonna close it off there, guys, so support bands and stay fans.